a couple days after my healing from Sai Baba, which was very, very, very dramatic because I was very much in pain. I had hepatitis. I weighed 90 pounds when I arrived at Sai Baba's place. And when I asked Sai Baba why, he said, I healed you once, now you have to do it yourself. And that was the beginning of my instruction with Sai Baba at a practical level.
And it was so amazing because Swami told all of us he was our mother and father. He gave us interviews every single night. He taught us bhajans every night.
I walked into through what now is the Ganesha gate, but of course there was no Ganesha there, there was no gate there, it was just the back of the mandir. And I hadn't been there but 2 seconds when Swami walked out on the back balcony, and it looked like flashes of energy and light. He was a god.
And at one point, Baba said, he said in that interview, he says, I give you what you want, so that someday you'll want what I have to give. And getting attached to him in his beautiful form it's wonderful and excruciatingly painful when the time comes to leave.
I found that the times that Swami was away from Prasanthi Nilayam were sometimes the times that were my favorite times, because there was no one there, and there was none of that desire and that wishfulness and that energy of, I want you, I want you. It was just being with Swami. It was living with Swami when he was there or not.
And Michelle chimed in.
I said, Swami, she wants to use this other person's ticket and passport and go to America because she has no money.
And Swami said, no. He said, how much do you need? And I said, $300. And he said, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Later that night, I don't know who it was, Kasturi. Kasturi came to my room and handed me $300 and said, this is from Swami.
This is 1971.
Welcome to part 2 of a reunion of Sai Baba devotees from the 1960s and 70s. We're grateful to devotee Gene Massey of Los Angeles for giving Souljourns permission to show this informative and interesting video. Included in part 2 of this program, Michelle Kapowitz, Indra Supra, Vijay Supra, Suzanne Mouse, Gail Malloy, and Kathy Baer. Welcome to Souljourns. This video was recorded in Los Angeles, California in 2004.
I'm going to tell a story of when I was first at Sai Baba's after the glorious meeting with Sai Baba, sending us off to Bangalore in absolute glory. Vijay and I are shining, we're really wanted. Everybody is loving us, of course, because you know when Sai Baba pays attention to you, everybody wants to touch a little bit of that light and encouraging us. Everyone's telling us the wonderful stories about how Swami saved them, and we should really go. So we go to Bangalore, and it's, I don't know what was going on with Swami, but all of you know who have been devotees for a long time that occasionally Swami just doesn't come out. And this turned out to be one of the times that Swami did not come out of the house. We were there for 6 weeks under the tree. We moved in under a tree. Swami had promised us all kinds of accommodations. He had promised us the world of enlightenment, and the world of Sai Rams, and the world of Sai Babas, the world of bhajans. But when we got there, it was like we didn't exist, like so many of us experienced this at Sai Baba. Some of it's internal, and some of it's an external event. So we get there, and we have a little money because we had this $100 that our father gave us, but of course we were very used to being what we would call jungly in India. And Vijay and I go to camp out under the tree. That's right behind this little tea shop. At that time there was nothing across the street from the ashram except this tea shop and a bicycle rental place. You could rent bikes and ride to Whitefield or to other Belgore or other places that were around. And so we were sleeping under this tree, very hot even for Bangalore, bathing in the train station, hanging out with the people under that tree, which were a few beggars. Some of them you'll know because they're still there. And the others with myself, Vijay, and a couple of the guys that were also ended up at staying. They'll have to tell their own story at a retreat, the 7 rockets they became much later on. But they were, 2 or 3 of them were under the tree with us, and I had been there for 6 weeks under this tree, and I'm very impatient. Plus I'm a doubting Thomas, so I'm thinking that Sai Baba really is much more what I thought he was, a charlatan, than what he, than the God that I thought he was after the interview. And I was just confused, and I had decided that I was going to leave Sai Baba, that there was another saint just nearby by the name of Shiva Bala Yogi. He was in Bangalore, also out on Bangalore-Derry Road, and I was going to go see him. VJ wouldn't go with me because she somehow or other just wouldn't leave. She just knew it was her place. So I get on the bus, go to City Market, and I meet this French man, and he said, oh, I'm going to see Shiva Bala Yogi, and I'm going to go over to Bangalore Road, and we're going to go see him. And I said, well, I'm going there too. Let's just go together. So we go back to get on the bus in City Market, and there was 2 roads into Kadgodi, which I didn't know was the name of the village. We always just called it Brindavan. We were only there 6 weeks. We didn't have any idea that this village had a name of Kadgodi, even though we went to the train station daily for baths. But anyway, when I got into town and I got back on the bus at City Market, I had gone all the way around, and they said, oh yes, we'll give you, this saint lives out there. And they gave me the ticket that took me back to Kadgodi. And I, back in 1970, a trip to City Market was an all-day experience from Kadgodi into Bangalore. And so I got back there, and I was like, oh, curses. But when I got out of the bus, there wasn't a single foreigner anywhere to be seen. I mean, not that there were so many of us, but there were so few people, and we really all stuck out like sore thumbs. I just want to say that we were so far from any kind of reality of what it took to live in community and at an ashram that, we really thought the petticoats and cholis, we would wear our cholis and our petticoats as full dress, not even knowing that you were supposed to put saris on them, above them. So I have to say that as far as anybody could believe, we were like, people would just scratch their heads like why Baba would ever pay any attention to us at all. But anyway, everybody was gone, and I sat down at this little chai shop that was kind of chai shop nobody in their right mind would ever eat at. I mean, maybe the motor rickshaw drivers and, the bus drivers might have, because it was, kind of like that kind of cafe, a roadside cafe. He comes in the little cafe, and he says, are you India Supra? And I said, yes. He says, Swami's been looking all over for you. I'm the only one that's not in there. So he takes me over to the Brindavan. It was a big dinner event with many people, a bridal party, a Bengal party, one of the many kind of parties Baba hosted for devotees in those days. And of course, in the daytime that I missed, he had called all the foreigners in for an interview, gave them all clean clothes, told them how to tie sari. So I get in this place, I am dirty, not very clean, smelly, and angry, and everybody else is just in bliss, So how that someone walks in this other vibration, everyone, Sai Baba's walking around in all his glory, the banana leaves are spread, the Bombay ladies are in most beautiful saris, and then there's me, and the Frenchman. And so we get there, and I don't really know what happened to the Frenchman because he went on the men's side, and anyway, I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, I am so angry at Swami. Even in that state, I knew I had been put in a bad position. Even though I realized so little, I was in a very bad position. And I'm thinking how angry I am at Sai Baba, and why would I be wasting my time on someone like Sai Baba? And this is a repeat of Gail's story, but so I'm sitting there thinking these horrible thoughts, and I feel and see Sai Baba standing in front of me. And he's not just standing there, he's standing there with a loda, which is those vessels that you put water in, and he's washing my hands. He's pouring the water over my hands and saying to me, he's saying, are you mad at Swami? And I look at him as the dirt pours from my hands and my face, which I'm washing, and I say, oh no, Swami, I'm not mad at you. Well, something happened at that moment which was wonderful. 2 things happened. As Swami healed me, I had I had really been trying to do sadhana. I didn't have a teacher, but I had read the books by Ramakrishna and Vivekananda and Swami Rama, and they would stand in the water and try to do mantra all night long and not sleep, and then I would try to do that. And then, I didn't have any idea that if Ramakrishna could sit for 7 days or 10 years and birds could nest in his hair, so could I. So I was trying all these kind of sadhanas, but in the process of doing that, I had gotten very sick with hepatitis. I had, actually, by the time I got to Sai Baba, I was pretty well paralyzed on one side of my body, not where I couldn't move, but I couldn't get up and down by myself. Someone would have to help me, and Swami really cured me that night. And that's another story, which I'll just tell you. The other thing happened, Swami asked me where I was living. And I said, Swami, we're living under the tree. He said, living under the tree? I told you that you would have rooms at the ashram. Brindavan wasn't an ashram. There was no rooms there. He yells across at Mr. Kasturi to do something about this. Poor Mr. Kasturi was the straight man for Swami in those days. He always got the end of it. Anything that couldn't be solved, it was Mr. Kasturi's fault, right? It was his. And so he calls Mr. Kasturi, and by evening, Vijay and I have the room in the storeroom be right next to the women's bathroom in the Kadgodi ashram, in the Whitefield ashram. So we are there, and we have our little storeroom. This was a palace to us, mind you. Of course, we wanted to bring in the beggars and everybody, but we couldn't bring them all in. But we were able to stay in this room, and a couple days after my healing from Sai Baba, which was very, very, very dramatic, because I was very much in pain. I had hepatitis. I weighed 90 pounds when I arrived at Sai Baba's place. And so I got to Sai Baba's, and he said that rheumatism and stuff was from sleeping on the cement floors, and he went on telling me. But then somehow or other in my mind, all these doubts came in, and I started to doubt my healing from Sai Baba. And sure enough, within a few days, I was crippled up again. And when I asked Sai Baba why, he said, I healed you once, now you have to do it yourself. And that was the beginning of my instruction with Sai Baba at a practical level. He started to give me tools, yoga classes out at Gopal Swami's, dietary instructions, and within the 2.5 years I was at Sai Baba's, eventually I was able to, with his guidance, cure myself. And that was the first real instructions that I had, and I'd like Vijay to pick up any part of the story from there, and then is that okay?
Let's see, so after we moved into that little storage shed, and every day Swami would talk to us and pass by, and pretty soon, and maybe about a month later, the rest of the foreigners moved in to the storage shed with us, I think it was. And then there was Michelle. Yeah, but how many girls? 6 girls. I've got a picture of our original group. I think there were 6 girls, and we all lived together. Then one day, Swami moved us into his house, and the boys had the roof. There was about maybe 10, 11 boys, and then us 6 girls, and we lived downstairs. And it was so amazing, because Swami told all of us he was our mother and father. He gave us interviews every single night. He taught us bhajans every night, and yeah, it was just so amazing. And he had dinners with us, every couple nights or so. And so he was just so amazing. So anyway, what he would do sometimes, because he did tell us he was our mother and father, and our room was, because we were just a few girls living in a small room, we had our saris strung all over, our laundry strung all over. He'd walk through sometimes, and he'd say, Dobie's room. I mean, we were so jungly with him because we thought he was our mother and father. So we were so natural with him. One time at the interviews, he used to say to us that he was asking what we were eating. India was cooking, and he'd always say he was going to get us milk. And every time he said he was going to give us milk, but he would never give it. So one time, Michelle and we went to his room, and we thought, well, we'll just ask Swami to give us that milk. Huh?
Swami, no milk has come.
Yeah.
You told
Where's
us milk
our
would
milk?
come. No milk has come.
So we knocked on the door, and he was in. He answered the door, and he gave us Pada Namaskar, and we said, Swami, we want the milk. Where's this milk you're always telling us you're going to give us? And he'd say, oh, Rajmata drank it. Oh, Raja Reddy drank it. You know, it was, Swami, we want the milk. He said, then he took us to a pantry and he gave us tins and tins of sweets and he loaded us down with everything. He never did give us the milk. But he did send us away with all these things to take
both
back.
Our arms were full like this. He opened his cupboard.
Yeah,
he gave us... It was his grace. I mean, those tins were symbolic of his opening his heart to us and filling our arms with everything we could carry.
But it just seems so strange now that we could say those things to Swami, you know. In my heart, I don't think I realized he wasn't God. I didn't realize he was God yet. I thought truly he was my mother and father. And it was only years later in Puttaparthi, I saw him up on the veranda and I go, oh my God, he is God, you know. But then he was too close to us. It was just, you know, he was just like family and we loved it so much. All us girls, we were like sisters and the boys were like brothers. We were like brothers and sisters. You know, we shared everything. It was a very sweet and special time. And inside, then we slept at night downstairs in the interview room.
It wasn't actually the interview room. That was the old Vrindavan house. It was an old Bangalore-style bungalow in Whitefield. Swami had a straight veranda in the front that he would call different various peoples to speak in there. He had a side interview room. You would go back, and it was like, what would you call that? Almost like a puja room, but it was a big square room with several houses, several rooms off of that where things were stored or people could sleep. And he had a chair there for bhajans, and that's where we slept, in this back. And then his dining room was behind that in another room.
So we all would sleep, the girls downstairs. We slept at night around his chair and his footstool. Every night we slept in his house.
And then one night I hear a scream.
I used to have nightmares all the time, and then I was sleeping by the chair, and his footstool was literally my pillow. And I woke up one night from screaming, and I heard him say, you know, say Sai Ram, Sai Ram. And after that, I never had any more nightmares. Yeah. Then after I screamed, Michelle screamed.
I guess for me, when I first got there, I had arrived with someone named Jai Devi, who I didn't know very well, and we had arrived in Prasanthi Nilayam, and I walked into through what now is the Ganesha gate, but of course there was no Ganesha there, there was no gate there, it was just the back of the mandir, and I hadn't been there but 2 seconds when Swami walked out on the back balcony, and it looked like flashes of energy and light. He was a god. I mean, he was flashes of energy and light, like superimposed on this stage. And we had this telegram. Swami said, come by Shivaratri. We found Mr. Kasturi. We said, we're here. Kasturi went up to Swami, comes back, and he said, Swami said, why have you come now in the middle of Shivaratri? No place, stay outside. And I said, I didn't even know I was standing on the gents' side. I put down my bag and I said, I'll sleep right here. I said, I'm not going outside of this ashram. I will sleep right here. So Kasturi again marches back to Swami, and Swami says, no. They have many cameras with them and valuables. Give them some room to keep their things in and sleep outside on a veranda. And I'm a city person. I sleep, where's the bathroom? No bathroom. Where's the hot water? No hot water. Where's the running water? What do you drink? What do you drink? What do you eat? How do you survive? And it didn't really all matter very much. And within 2 days, Swami had called us for interview, and we went through Shivaratri, and I'm walking around picking stones up off of the ground, thinking it's all God's heaven, and it's wonderful to be able to pick up this stone. And I saw in the distance, I looked up and I saw a flash of orange, and I thought, oh, it's Swami, how wonderful, and my heart soared. And I looked again, and it was a lady in orange. And that was the first lesson I learned from Swami, is that he is in everybody. And to see him in everybody. And it didn't matter that it was Swami, because I saw the Swami in that orange sari. And that was also the beginning of a great teaching. Then we went to Bangalore. And I had met India and Vijay. I withheld this money. I wasn't going to give it to them so quick, and then they had an interview, and they fell in love with Swami, and we all went to Vrindavan. They took up residence under the tree. I took up residence in a house with some people. And this Jai Devi and I, we all went to darshan that morning, and a man comes running out and says, Swami says everyone is to go away, he is not giving darshan. And Jai Devi and I are walking down the driveway, and a man comes running up and says, Swami is looking for the two people from New York. Is that you? And we were invited into his house. And we proceeded, the first day, we spent in the morning, the Hislops were there, and the Murfitts were there, and all these people, older than we were by about 20 years, and had studied spirituality. And in the morning, they're all asking Swami all these spiritual questions, and I have not a clue about what is this about. But by the second day, I got sick and I didn't come. And Swami again asked him in. And this time he didn't leave when everybody else left. He just sat there. So we basically sat in Swami's house for 9 days. The entire day, Swami would come down, he'd go up for tiffin, he'd go up after lunch, come down, have his tiffin, and then one day he sent us into tiffin. There were cold grapes, there was fruit. I thought I had died and gone to heaven. I had not known what to eat, what to do. But then I'm thinking, I didn't relate to those people. I didn't know what they were talking about, and I see and I hear that Swami has called all these young people into the interview room, and I said to myself, can't I be with them? At least, I want to be with them. And then Hislop and all the other LC all left, and we were all called in as a group, and Swami used to speak to us at least once a day. If he didn't speak to us for a day, we were like very upset. And Swami said, why? Swami is very busy. Don't be disappointed, don't be disappointed. And that gets us up to where we started the going into bhajans and things like that.
It's interesting because I arrived around this point, and it was after the good days. All of a sudden, Baba kicked all the Westerners out. He wasn't giving interviews, nothing. And after traveling all this way and thinking, oh, I'm such an important person, and nothing. And I'm thinking, well, this guy's God. He should know who I am. He should know all about me. During this period of time, another woman who had been Honduran, her and her husband had had a baby there. And there was a baby naming, and this was back into Puttaparthi. And so during this occasion, all the Westerners were allowed to attend this baby naming for this Western baby. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just, finally, I'm getting to be near this gentleman. And all of a sudden, he turns to me and goes, what is your name? And I'm going, wait a minute, you're supposed to be God. Aren't you supposed to know everything? And I'm thinking, Gail. He goes, huh? And I went, Gail? And he goes, huh? I went, Gail. And he goes, oh, Drail. The next thing he did, he turned to Robbie, who was one of the people that we had traveled these long months to get there. And Robbie and I had been lovers long ago before this. And he turns to him and said, where is your wife? And Robbie goes, no wife. And he turns to me and goes, where is your husband? And I go, no husband. And he goes, no rhyme, no reason, no season. And then, so I knew he knew who I was, where I had come from, and more than I probably would have cared for him to know. And at one point, Baba said, he said in that interview, he says, I give you what you want, so that someday you'll want what I have to give. And during this stay, you accumulate all these desires, the jealousies, because you love him so much, you can't stand not being near him. When someone else gets some attention, you're glad, but you want it too. You just want to have that closeness with him. And it's very interesting that we would have all these conflicting emotions, but our deep affection and love for one another was just boundless. And in spite of all these conflicting emotions, and getting attached to him and his beautiful form it's wonderful and excruciatingly painful when the time comes to leave. there was one occasion where I had this opportunity with Swami, and he turned to me and said, "If you love me, you'll go home." He said, "Your dharma is there, your action is there." He said, "Come be like the bee, take the nectar and go." So I kind of had a hint my time was running up. So, and during this time, my sister had her son there with lots of attention. No attention from me, and I'm feeling very sorry for myself. So during my period there, I had a mental laundry list of all the desires I had built up over this period of time, and it was rather extensive, I must say. I wanted to be pulled from the darshan line at Prasanthi Nilayam. I wanted to act as an interpreter. I wanted to have him make me something. I wanted him to give me specific spiritual instruction. I wanted to be called to his feet. I mean, the list went on and on and on. I was happy at the time, Western ladies were allowed to make Baba some food on their birthday and bring it to him in their dining room, in his dining room, in the little dining room upstairs. And we were always told that India always said, was it India or Vijay, that Baba said he only eats poor, he never eats fruits and sweets. So of course I made him applesauce. And I brought this horrible mixture of this brown puddle with these wilted pink leaves in it. And he was so kind enough to like dip his finger in. And he told me at this point, he goes, "There's a Western lady here. I want you to come and I will have an interview. Bring her with you and we'll have an interview." And of course I walk out as delirious and everybody's going, "He's not going to do that. He's way too busy. He's not going to do this." No, he wouldn't do this to me. No, he wouldn't do this to me. And came time, and everyone's waiting on darshan line. I go to the side door. No one's there. And I'm going, no, he wouldn't do this to me. He wouldn't do this to me. And I'm standing there with this poor woman who just came from Southern California, didn't know what was going on. And this Indian woman came along, and she says, "What are you doing here?" And I told her my story. She goes, "I know nothing." But I think she became quite paranoid that if she made a mistake, there would be problems to be had. So she brought me and this woman, put us on the front line in the darshan line. Baba came out a few minutes later, walked around, was picking people all over the place, and I'm going, "He wouldn't do this to me. He wouldn't do this to me. He wouldn't do this to me." And he's just walking back to go in, and he goes, "Why are you sitting here? Up, up, go, go." So this woman and I ran up. We were in the last group to go. And we sat down with perhaps maybe a family of Indian family. There may have been 4 of them, if I remember correctly. So there were 6 of us in all. And he turned to me, he goes, "Today is your birthday, come." And he's making me something. I went, "Ooh boy, here we go. I want that japamala, yeah baby. Give me a medallion, that's what I want." And I put my hand, and he said, "Put your hand out." And he puts this milk sweet in my hand, and it was very hot, and I went, "Oh, a milk sweet." And I'm going, and then I'm thinking, boy, it's still warm. And then he goes and gives it to everyone else, and he plops down in his chair and he goes, "Eat, eat." So I eat it, and it was excellent. And then, what happened then? He said, well, at any rate, he proceeded to fulfill my entire wish list of everything I wanted. He gave me special instruction on my meditation. He said, "Be like Jesus. I am, I am, I am." And then one day, I am, I am. I and God are one. I am one, I am one. I am God, I am God, I am God. And the list went down, and the only thing he hadn't done was sign a bhajan book. And at the end of the interview, the few of us there, he was going up to his room, rushed him. As he was leaving, we just rushed him. And I was so horrified at this greed, this want of more from him. And I ran out of the room crying. And I was so devastated because I realized at that point, no matter how long I stayed there with him, I would never be satisfied. I would always want more. And he just gave me everything I wanted. And it would never end. And I left 2 days later, unbeknownst to me, and I knew at that time I'd never see him again, and I haven't. But his gift to me is complete.
Many of us never got to go back, and I think because that wasn't what our job was. It was to come here and live the life here and be Swami's representatives and be lights for others, hopefully. When I was there almost 2 years, and I knew I hadn't had a visa. I went in on a 3-month visa and ended up staying almost 2 years without, the rest of that time without a visa, and they finally caught up to me. And so I knew it was time to go, but I had no money by that time. I had arrived with very little money, but it goes a long way, and it lasted almost 2 years. So I had to leave. The police finally found me and told me I had to leave, and there was another lady who had just arrived who had a ticket that she wasn't going to use. She was now going to stay forever. So we cooked up this plan that I would use her ticket. I'd borrow her passport and go home with her ticket and her passport. And we thought this was very clever. And I happened to tell Michelle that this is what I was going to do.
And Michelle said, I don't think that sounds so good, Suzanne. You have to go ask Swami. You can't do this. You have to sit and ask Swami. You take that passport with you and you sit on the darshan line.
So I was in front row on the darshan line, and I thought, I'll just hold it up, and if Swami touches it and blesses it, I know I'm good. So I held it up. Swami came over, grabbed it, said, "What is this? This isn't you." And Michelle chimed in.
I said, Swami, she wants to use this other person's ticket and passport and go to America because she has no money.
And Swami said, no. He said, how much do you need? And I said, $300. He said, don't worry, I'll take care of you. He said, I'll take care of you, don't worry. So the darshan ended. Later that night, I don't know who, it was Kasturi. Kasturi came to my room and handed me $300 and said, this is from Swami. So, crisp brand new bills that who knows if he made them, who knows where they came from. But he gave me the money to go back. And just like when I was in the airport, I guess the lesson is that you'll be taken care of. And I have been taken care of, no matter how much I fear for where's my next dollar coming from, or whatever my fears and anxieties are. I have always been taken care of, and will always be. We all will always be taken care of.
I, like Gail, was raised Roman Catholic, went to church every Sunday of my life till I was probably about 20. And when I got to India, looked at Sai Baba and said to myself, this is what it must have been like to be, we have that consciousness, darling, one of the people who followed Jesus around, because it was that kind of deal. It was like when darshan was crowded, it was 3 rows deep, and even though we got there,
it was biblical.
Even though we got there after they got to live in the house, we still got to go in the house. He still fed us. He still called us in for interviews. He still called us in and sang bhajans with us in the night. My first trip there lasted, we only had 6-month visa, and we were with Baba about 4 or 5 of those months because we had been in North India to start with. When I was ready to leave, it was the first summer school they had at Whitefield for the college students. They had a summer school in spirituality, and it was the first one, and they let us attend. And that was when Honora, Gail's sister, had her baby during that time. That was right when you were leaving. And we could sit there and listen to these incredible pundits. And I remember I didn't go to college, I hitchhiked to India, so I was sitting there taking notes and learning things and feeling wonderful. And it was time for us to go, and I remember India just said to me, "You can't go without saying goodbye to Swami." And she walked right up to him. She said, "Swami, she is leaving, you must speak to her. And so I had just been blissfully there, just having a good time and not expecting a whole lot. But there I was alone with him, and that's the first time I was alone with him. And he just was so sweet to me, and he just talked to me for a little while, and he made me vibhuti, and he let me touch his feet, and he was just treated me so well. He said, "Don't worry, I'm always with you," da, 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 you know. And we went back to the United States for 2 years, and that time we had stayed away for 1 full year on $2,000, got back to New York with $10 in our pocket. But we worked really hard for 2 years and saved up probably about $10,000, and we said, okay, we're going to India again. And we started cross country. We drove that time. We were going to fly to India. And we got to New York and ended up spending the summer there. That was the summer of '74. And at that time, we separated. And I went off to Ireland. And I went up to Ireland. I was in England. My sister got married, and my mother sent me a ticket from London to San Francisco, come back for her wedding. I stayed there for a month. And in the meantime, Richard had gone to India, and he had been there for several months by the time I finally got myself to India. And he thought he was leaving, and I thought I was coming. And we crossed paths in between, and Swami called us together, and he called us up at this thing where, again, married couples, and he said, "I'm giving you this room on the ashram, and I want you to stay here and work for me." And I could not believe what he said. You know, it was like, I was one who I had had incredible chances, but never expectations. I never thought that he could ever say something like that to me. And he gave us the job of, Mr. Kutumbarao had a lot of trouble with all of us Westerners coming to Prasanthi Nilayam. It was very hard for him to understand our ways and understand our, you know, even to speak to us. And he gave...
to do with the Westerners letting go of all the dogs they had caught on the ashram?
Yeah, we weren't what you call like pukka. So they designed a code of conduct at that time, and he gave the job of enforcing the code of conduct and greeting every foreigner who came to the ashram to myself and my husband Richard. And he gave us a room on the ashram. And we were just a couple of the hippies on the ashram. We didn't expect that treatment. And it was amazing. And we ended up living there on the ashram. We became ashram residents. We didn't even get to follow him when he went away because we were ashram residents. We got the milk delivered to our room daily. We got the meals. We got the room. We got the job, you know? So I found that the times that Swami was away from Prasanthi Nilayam were sometimes the times that were my favorite times, because there was no one there, and there was none of that desire and that wishfulness and that energy of, I want you, I want you. It was just being with Swami. It was living with Swami when he was there or not. And I spent a whole year and a half just living at Prasanthi Nilayam, whether he came or went. And I got to know, I studied Telugu with Mr. Ranganaya Kulu, and I got to know Mr. Kasturi so well. Like when they were knocking down the Shanti Vedika with the ball and chain, that's where he used to give out the Shiva Lingam. They knocked it down before his 50th birthday because they were redesigning the ashram. And Mr. Kasturi and I were standing there picking up pieces of the Shanti Vedika that were pieces of the flowers that had been on it, the plaster pieces, and we saved them because they looked like cobra hoods, you know? It was like, to me, that was almost the most wonderful experience that I can think of. And it seems like we need to stop talking. Yes. But I would just like to say that when I walked in here, my mind was blank and I couldn't think of any stories. But the story I have to tell is that my experience with Sai Baba over 2 years was, of course, transforming and, of course, I've come home with him in my heart. And I haven't been back for 22 years, but it doesn't matter because he's still there in my heart every day and every moment.
You have to come back. I know you all enjoy your company together too. These things are important for all of us. You know that. It brings tears to us. You said something at the opening remark that I think it's very important for all of us. That Swami has told us, he told you is because of your past lives and good karma that you had all of that. Swami has told us that even if you hear his name, that's because of the good karma that you have. So tonight, just don't think you chose to come here. Just don't think that. Swami blessed us, and it's our good karma that we're here to listen to these wonderful stories, and I sure pray to Swami that you will come back. Set up for a little, for Arati, if you want to come up and sit up.